This week, Nations Business highlights the historical Group of 77 meeting, or G77, that was held at Natadola's Intercontinental Resort and Spa at the Coral Coast. The high-level meeting of political leaders of the Southern Hemisphere and technical experts from the United Nations is a first of its kind for Fiji and the South Pacific region, in which Prime Minister Vorenga Bainimarama is the current chair of the largest grouping of developing countries. Nations that have united under one body to highlight critical issues that affect them, such as poverty, unemployment, sea level rise, and health issues, and at the same time collectively promote their economic interests to the United Nations General Assembly.
The doors of G77 are widely open to any developing nation, either Pacific or Africa or Latin America. This is the purpose of G77, is specifically to help, to support the voices from the small nations of the South.
In welcoming the leaders to the two-day high-level meeting, a Fijian traditional ceremony of welcome was performed by the members of the Republic of the Fiji Military Forces. For the special guest of honor, His Excellency the President Juan Evo Morales of Bolivia. Morales served as Bolivia's president since 2006 and has been championing the rights of his people through the reduction of poverty and the fight against global corporations that exploit South America's natural resources and basic services. His presence at the G77 meeting further strengthens and boosts the confidence of Pacific Island leaders who have also been advocating for their people. This is also the first time that Fiji has hosted a head of state from Latin America who was accorded a 100-men Guard of Honor.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias, hermano primer ministro de esta tierra. Primero, muy sorprendido por la hospitalidad del pueblo de Fiji. Agradecer a nombre de quienes visitan esta linda tierra con motivo de la reunión de G77 por la recepción oficial, especialmente por este rito originario, un rito ancestral y cultural de nuestros pueblos indígenas originarios. Para mi país y especialmente para mí, esta visita será inolvidable porque por primera vez Bolivia de manera oficial visita al continente de Oceanía. Por eso, con mucho respeto y admiración, decirles muchas gracias por esta gran recepción. Muchísimas gracias.
The chairman of the G77, Prime Minister Vorenga Bainimarama, highlighted that the two-day talks amongst the leaders was to discuss the platform for strengthening the South-South cooperation between small island nations and their counterparts overseas.
This meeting aims to pursue the Group of 77 South Summit mandates in order to address the relevant development challenges of the South, taking into account the evolving realities and hardships facing the developing world. Through our discussions, Your Excellencies, we will reflect on the future landscape of South-South cooperation and recommend action-oriented decisions that will contribute significantly to the development platform of the South. The Group of 77 must continue to take the lead in the transforming landscape of South-South cooperation by updating the South Development Platform.
Nations Business met with the Executive Secretary of G77 to New York, Mr. Murad Amia, who spoke about the growing membership of the G77 bloc, which now has 132 nations and includes countries from Asia Pacific, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean.
The Group of 77, it's a very large group, very powerful. It has political weight. 130 countries means 130 voices, 130 votes. So most of the decisions, resolutions taken by the General Assembly, its subsidiary bodies, most of the time they are adopted by consensus. However, there are situations where if there is no consensus, then the decision or resolution has to be voted. And of course, this is very important because the developing countries, the Group of 77, will secure always, the majority for such decisions to be adopted.
Amia added that the doors of the G77 are open to countries seeking to have their voices heard in the international arena, an opportunity that allows for the international community to fully understand the plight and concerns of developing countries.
I think it was excellent because as the chair of G77 this year, Fiji has taken, the leadership in getting together so many government leaders and also thinkers, including myself, to think through what the developing countries should be doing in this critical juncture of world history when the global economy is facing a crisis, when the Western countries that we depend so much for our trade, our aid and so on, are themselves in crisis, and the developing countries are now rising in the world economy, and we need to think through how we may have to reconsider our development strategies.
One thing that we've got to understand is that there are varying and differing situations of the member countries of the developing countries and the G77 plus China. And it is not easy for us to try to find a way that is common to everyone. And it is quite interesting that we have been able to have this opportunity to really map that out and advocate it, articulate it in such a way that we can be able to incorporate it in the framework that we will advance together as members of the Group of 77 plus China.
Our people want development, but they want controlled development. They want good development. They want sustainable development. And that's the challenge we have in the Pacific. How can we satisfy our people to make sure that they have education, good health, infrastructure, but I don't want mass development.
The Executive Secretary for the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, Dr. Nolene Hazer, says the discussions on South-South cooperation and how the South can play a new role in terms of shaping the agenda of the future is critical. She says voices of the small island states need to be taken seriously because of the new changing development landscape, adding that countries in the South do not shape the global agenda.
And now it is critical that we put the issue of people at the center of our development, the people, the issue of our planet, the caring of Mother Earth, so that we can actually have shared prosperity, not just for ourselves, but for the next generation. So really, these are issues that are critical, but at the same time, how do we sustain the economic dynamism for the South in such a way that the value added and the productive capacities of the least developed countries, the landlocked countries, the small island states, the value given to the marine resources, that these are all put on the agenda of really developing an agenda for shared prosperity.
United Nations Population Fund Executive Director Dr. Bamba Tunde also highlights that such meetings are important for countries in the South, since it would allow experts to find the synergies between these countries in order to achieve equal levels of development.
This for me is the kind of meeting I want to go, so that I can get political leaders to think about these issues together. And I want to tell you that it's about empowering women and girls and young people to be able to do more for themselves and their countries, and for countries also to give them the space to do what they have to do.
After 2 days of deliberations, the chairman of the G77, Prime Minister Commodore Vorenge Bainimarama, thanked members of the high-level panel for their contributions towards key areas of development, all targeted at providing a pathway in approaching the international community.
South-South cooperation is a key element in the development agenda of our countries. It is imperative that we construct a strong platform for ourselves, harnessing political will as we move forward. We have also emphasized that the obligations of the North to financially and technically support the South remains. Thus, in the interest of global harmony, equity, and development, we must strengthen the development commitments of North-South, South-South, and triangular cooperation.
It's important to be able to share in these solutions, because we don't want to keep making the mistakes that others have made. And I think here we have the opportunity to discuss how we as developing nations should interact with the North component of the equation, how we deal with our developed partners. And particularly in trade, climate change will become a significant item on that agenda as well. And there is no question that it's almost absolutely necessary that one should be a member, and we are very happy to be able to participate in this meeting, and also to consider seriously membership as a matter of urgency.
I believe, and I will tell you, there are 600 million adults and girls in the world today, out of a population of just over 7 billion. Now, you can begin to imagine, if we train all of those young adults and girls, educate them, give them space, provide them with facilities to grow their full potential, they'll transform the world. So that's, for me, that's where I'm coming from. Because either two, we haven't done that. I mean, many parts of the world, we find that girls are married off before they are 15, and many parts of the world, they don't even get to go to school, or they go to school, they don't complete school. Teenage pregnancy is a major issue in many parts of the world. So it is about ensuring that governments, civil society, communities, fathers and mothers protect their girls to make sure that they can reach their full potential.
I think we can, as I said, you can't be negotiating in small blocks. The more powerful we are together, the more united we are. I think what I'd like to see in the negotiations, and I hope Fiji will take the leadership this year to consolidate even further the voice of G77 and not allow developing countries to be split. Because only when you have the big countries in the developing world and the small countries come together, because I think our fate is united. There is no one who is going to gain by allowing developed countries to move away from their commitments and to do very little and to shift the responsibility on developing countries. I think we all face the common challenge.
Really, at the end of the day, I keep saying we need to put our 3 Ps at the center of our development and policy framework. And this is people, planet, and of course, prosperity, but which must be shared.
The platform will serve as a guide containing the goals and aspirations for economic growth to the South by strengthening the South and North partnerships.
It's amazing that a small country like this can offer great leadership, and I see that visibly in New York and also in the climate negotiations. So I think Fiji is a shining example of how even a small country can contribute to the future of the developing world.
The outcomes of the meeting will be presented in September to the United Nations General Assembly by Chairman of the G77, Prime Minister Commodore Vorenke Bainimarama.